Why is there so much mistrust towards AI right now? Tim is a computer scientist and artificial intelligence researcher.
The idea, the perception that it can do really big things is where I think this is problematic.
Do you think we should be scared about what's coming?
I think that's a completely big mistake.
We begin to expect AI to be safe even on airplanes.
They don't really use machine learning. You get a very authoritative response that's very confident, even if it's wrong. The black box problem is the other big issue.
Should it be controlled?
A man in Belgium spent weeks talking to an AI chatbot about his fears, anxiety, and loneliness. The chatbot responded like it understood him. It sounded supportive, human, reassuring. But it was not conscious. It was not empathetic. It was simply predicting the next sentence. And yet, the connection felt real enough that he slowly became emotionally dependent on it. The case later ended in tragedy, and it forced researchers around the world to confront a disturbing reality. Humans are beginning to emotionally trust machines that do not actually understand them at all. And this may be the most dangerous shift of the AI era. Because artificial intelligence is no longer just helping humans work faster. It is starting to influence how humans think, decide, and even emotionally process the world around them. At the same time, global AI adoption is accelerating rapidly, reshaping nearly 1 in 4 jobs worldwide. But the deeper problem is not just automation, it is understanding. Many AI systems can generate answers that sound convincing, without users truly understanding how those conclusions were reached. That gap increases overtrust, weakens critical thinking, and makes humans more vulnerable to manipulation and error. So the real question is no longer, can AI think like humans? The real question is, if machines start shaping human decisions before we even make them, how much of our thinking is still truly our own?
Welcome to another episode of Khan Clinics. I'm your host, Dr. Amir Khan. And today we are joined by a computer scientist and an AI research innovator, Tim Miller. Tim is a computer scientist and artificial intelligence researcher whose work focuses on explainable AI, human-centered AI systems, and the ethical challenges surrounding intelligent technologies. He's currently the professor of AI and chair in data science in School of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science at the University of Queensland, where his research explores how AI systems make decisions and how humans interpret and trust those decisions. He's the author of 2 books, The Introduction to Software Innovation and Mastering Reinforcement Learning. Over the years, Tim has contributed to critical AI discussions around explainable AI, human AI interactions, machine ethics, cognitive trust in AI systems, and responsible AI development. Tim, welcome to Khan Clinics.
Thank you for having me, Amit.
Tim, let's start with the explainable AI. Would you tell our audience what does it mean and how does it help AI growth?
Yeah. So I think a lot of it, what explainable AI basically is where you're building AI systems. Typically, they're making decisions, and you build in parts of that can explain why they made particular decisions. And the way it helps, I guess, is like that's what people thought it might do was improve a whole lot of things. So improves people's ability to use decision support tools, improve people's trust of tools that they're using, at like long-term trust, and just basically improve their cognitive understanding of how the tools work. And it's fair to say it did a very good job of increasing people's trust in systems, but I think what the literature shows is that it increases trust when it shouldn't. Probably sometimes it increases it beyond what the system is capable of, and so it can have some negative effects as well. And so the results of it are kind of mixed so far. In this for the last 10 years, we've been seeing more and more results saying it doesn't always work the way you expect.
Tim, thanks for explaining that. Do you think we should be scared about what's coming and AI systems in general? Or how do you see it how do you interact or see this as for human growth potential and stuff? Are you a pessimist, optimist? Should it be controlled? Should it not be controlled? What's your take on this?
So I think I'm not scared of the technology. I don't think it's anywhere near as powerful as what the people around the company say it is. I think they know that. I think you'd be hard put finding an academic in computer science who thinks that they are. But that doesn't mean there's going to be significant disruption. There could be a bit of disruption in good ways, that it starts to do good tasks for us. But I also think it's the perception of what they can do that's driving a lot of the current, a lot of the problems, right? So I know people who were there, well, we're not going to hire juniors anymore because these tools can do these things. I think that's a really big mistake. They're not really that good. The tools aren't really that good. So even if you example, look at software engineering, which is probably the most impacted career right now, those tools, they're pretty good at doing one part of a software engineer's job and not good at the rest. And maybe they're equivalent to a university graduate in some things, but they're just not that. They're not that good, and they won't improve that much from here.
Thank you for explaining that, Tim. Tim, some of your clinical work that involved in the field of medicine applying AI include hospital discharge planning and using AI for diagnosis in dermatology. Share what your experience has been when you applied AI and used as a tool for hospital better organization and for image or diagnosis in dermatology in general.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think they're two quite different tasks, because one of them is kind of a hospital operational type task, discharge summaries, and one of them is a much higher level diagnosis problem where things go wrong. The impact can be quite a bit bigger. It's interesting looking. I think it's interesting looking at perception. So we sort of had a hospital discharge tool, and we did a small study with some with doctors at a hospital here in Brisbane, and gave them some discharge summary reports, and gave them some health records, and gave them the discharge summary report that it would generate, and asked them sort of what they would change. And it was kind of interesting. Then we didn't ask the question, but I think it was pretty fair to say that most people would have said, I would happily send this out without changing it. It's correct. It's technically correct, but it's a bit dry, and it's not very humanistic. And so we found that they were quite happy with discharge summary stuff. So generating 1 or 2 pages of discharge summary, they're quite happy that this doesn't make mistakes, anything. It was quite interesting study, and they trusted it. So that was interesting at finding there. So I think we'll see them. They save a lot of time. They save a lot of administrative time. I think we'll see those tools coming out more and more. The diagnosis, that's a harder nut to crack, I think. And so the study we did, we do stuff quite different to the way most people do decision support systems. So most of the current dermatology diagnostic tools will look at an image and give you a diagnosis straight away. And what research shows is that can be problematic. It anchors people on the initial diagnosis, and they tend to accept the machine diagnosis far too often, even when it's wrong. And so we sort of do things differently. We studied the decision-making process of dermatologists quite closely and their workflow. And then one of the conditions we looked at was, well, the dermatologist first does the diagnosis. And then what the machine's job is there to sort of check it. And then if it disagrees, sort of point out bits of evidence on the on the image or on the hospital or on the patient record, point out bits of evidence to suggest why the dermatologist might be wrong, and see if they change their mind. And it had some success. It worked okay.
Excellent. So there is a workflow change, and there is more an adjustment that needs to be made with AI. I guess it's still a partnership, and it's work in transition still. Thank you for explaining that, Tim. Tim, let me do a follow-up question on the trust you mentioned just a while ago and the safety gap that there is on AI. There's been studies that even in different countries, US as well, we begin to expect AI to be safe even on airplanes, and it's doing its own maths. It's evolving, it's changing here as well. There is a question, even though it may not be as safe as what we think, there is a gap between how much we trust AI and how safe it actually is. I want to take your take on this. Why are we trusting GPSs, chat boxes, and all of these AI things that are available out there than the actual math and then the other things that are behind it? Where's the gap?
Yeah, I think there's two things, right? I mean, so things like GPS, we trust it because it's very good, right? I mean, GPS searches that they don't really use machine learning. They use other techniques. They use search techniques and optimization techniques, and they're very good. Similarly, I think that there was not much trust in machine learning systems until these kind of chatbots came out, these large language model-based chatbots. And I think that we're just seeing the effect of the fact that they can talk about anything, right? They can talk about any topic that's been talked about on the internet ever, that those tools will talk about. And most of us don't know anything about every topic, about most topics in the world. And so when we ask about it, we get a very authoritative response that's very confident, even if it's wrong. And we don't know we don't know the answer's wrong because we don't know anything about that topic. That's why we're asking. And so, I mean, I very often encourage people, go and talk to it about a topic you know something about, and then see where the limitations come out and where there's a lot of gaps and where there are a lot of these things here. So we see it with literature reviews in research. Yes, it gives great literature review. I say, go and get these tools through a literature review on something you already know about, and you'll see misses a lot of things, makes a few mistakes here and there. They're okay. But that's probably it, is just that impact of people are able to use the tool for something they don't know anything about, and so they're unable to determine that they're making mistakes and that they're probably not quite as good as what they thought.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you for explaining that. I know we're running short on time. Just a couple of last few questions. One area that you're particularly fond of is AI ethics, and you mentioned this. You've been the co-founder actually of the Center of AI and Digital Ethics, and you're very thoughtful about the ethical side of things. We talk a lot about privacy, but you focus on digital ethics. What's the difference?
Yeah, great question. So there's not that much difference between what would be digital ethics and what would be other types of ethics. The big impact of technology is always the scale. You can make one person can make 2 or 3 stupid decisions a day. Machine can make 200 or 300 stupid decisions a day, right? So it's typically on scale where the difference lies. I would say with machines. The second difference is probably around the transparency. The explainable AI problem. Probably a little bit is the fact that the decision mechanisms are new types of decisions, and that it's not very clear why those decisions are being made. Whereas decision made by a person, we are also people. We have the ability to empathize with them and understand. Or an organization, we at least know how organization and decision processes work. So I think that decision, that sort of black box problem is the other big issue.
Final question, Tim. What people often tell you that AI is math, or you often tell people AI is math, not magic. What's the one commonest, biggest myth about AI that you constantly have to debunk? Conversations that people have wants to tell you.
It's a good one. I mean, I think that I don't have to debunk it very often, but there's a current discussion around whether chatbots are conscious, which is interesting, and they're definitely not. When you understand them, they're just bits of software. I can go in and see how they run. I think the biggest one that's probably that you have to debunk is that these systems are always learning. But in fact, chatbots aren't learning all the time. They're not learning from the feedback you get. You can use machine learning to do that, but they're not actually learning. Chatbots get retrained, every 6 months or something. That they get re-released. They're exceedingly expensive to do this.
Professor Tim Miller, thank you so much for joining us today and enlightening and giving your views to us. We've benefited a lot. Appreciate your time. You've been very generous.
Very much. Thank you very much, Amir. I hope so.
Artificial intelligence is no longer just changing technology, it's changing human behaviors itself. As machines become smarter, faster, and more integrated into our lives, the challenge is no longer simply building better AI. The challenge is making sure humans do not lose the very qualities that make us human: critical thinking, reasoning, empathy, and independent judgment. If you found this conversation meaningful, subscribe to Khan Clinics and click the bell icon to continue exploring the future of health, science, humanity with us. This is Dr. Amir Khan, signing out from Khan Clinics. Stay informed and stay empowered. Stay blessed.